The reason that yoga has become so popular now is because we all just need to feel a connection to something that is bigger than this like technological, handheld world. It's got to be about figuring out who we really are, remembering that. It's about being so strong, so powerful all through your life. This class is all about core engagement and understanding your inner strength as opposed to your outer strength. Even if you don't have like ripped muscles or have a lot of visible evidence for it, the inner strength will always show off, not just when you're on your yoga mat, but as soon as you step off it as well. As a larger bodied person, I was never really taught to spend any time thinking about my core or thinking about anything related to the middle of my body because there's quite a lot of fat there. And I think that can be intimidating for a lot of us. Like you see some of these postures that have obviously a lot of core engagement, and you think that you have to have ripped muscles, that you have to be visibly showing all of those. Defining characteristics in order to have a strong core, but that's not it at all. Having a strong core really does help in so many parts of your life. In a lot of ways, honestly, it helps just to sit up taller and straighter. And if you can strengthen your core, it makes so many yoga postures so much better. I'm going to give you a couple of different little stopping points so that you can say, like, maybe this is as far as I want to go today. Or you'll be like, maybe I want to go a little bit further. Maybe I want to push myself. There'll be opportunities for all of that. So I will say that it's a good idea to have yoga props on hand. When I first started practicing yoga, I didn't really use yoga props. I thought that they were a symbol of weakness and that if I was using a prop and that meant something bad about my body. That is not the case. Yoga props are dope and they make such a big difference. But you don't have to necessarily go out and buy yoga blocks or yoga straps or blankets or whatever. You can use really heavy books that are in your house right now. You can use a necktie, or I used to use an old dog leash as a strap. You can use a blanket as a strap. There's just so many different things. I would really recommend though grabbing a block if you've got one and grabbing a yoga strap if you've got one. But even if you don't have that, go out, find your little DIY props and just meet me back here on the mat. This is called tabletop pose in yoga. You spread your hands really, really wide and kind of rock back and forth a little bit so that you feel your shoulders stack over your wrists and you feel your hips stack over your knees. So you just rock back and forth, back and forth. And if you're feeling a little bit of sensitivity in the knee joint here, roll over the sides of your mat, put your knee on top, sides, knee, extra cushion. But if you need more cushion than this, just go grab a blanket. There's no need to be in pain while practicing yoga. It's like the opposite of yoga. So anyway, from wherever you are, whatever feels the most comfortable for you, find your tabletop. And we're going to start this just with a little bit of what's called cat and cow pose, cat cow. So you start this by just dropping your belly down, dropping your heart down, letting your heart start to come forward, rolling that, and then exhale, curl your spine, round your upper back, push the ground away with your hands, shake out your head and your neck if you've got some tension there. Let's do that again. So on the inhale, drop the belly down, drop the heart down, allow the gaze to come up. Exhale, curl the spine. One more time like that. Inhale, drop the belly down, drop the heart down, allow the gaze to come up. Exhale, curl the spine, round the upper back, shake out your head and your neck. So keep this little round in the spine. Something to keep in mind as we go forward is that you want to feel as though your full shoulder girdle is engaged. So when we've got this rounding of the upper back, you feel how that's very different from having just a flat back, regular back. So find that little round in your upper spine, pushing the ground away, and look a little bit ahead of you on your mat. Like maybe let's call it 3 to 5 inches ahead of you on the mat. Spread really wide through your fingers and squeeze your upper arms in toward each other. Breathe here. Find that inhale deep through your nose. Exhale deep through your nose, keeping that little bit of a curve in the upper back. And then exhale, come to sit, back on your shins, or on your butt, whatever feels the most comfortable for you. And let's just take a moment. If you have any point in your yoga practice where someone says, take a high plank, or, jump up into this core shape, or even if you just need to take a minute, come back to this high plank prep. That is your friend. That is your space for comfort. But if you're feeling good there and you feel like you want to challenge yourself, let's turn that into a full high plank pose. So let's come on back, hands and knees. Rock back and forth a little bit to find that alignment. Shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Just breathe here. Spread really wide through your fingers. Find that little bit of a round in the upper back, just like we were doing in our cat-cow pose transitions. And then from here, step your right leg back, stay on the ball of the foot. Step your left leg back. This is our high plank. Now here, it's not this like kind of low, you see like how my butt is falling down, everything's falling, woohoo. What you want to do is push the ground away, round the upper back, just like we were doing before. Squeeze your arms in toward each other. If this becomes too much, I'm mad at you, dude. Drop down to your knees. It's no big deal, but keep looking a few inches ahead of you on the mat. Breathe here, take one more breath, then drop down to your knees. Drop back down your shins. Take a moment. So having a strong core is really great for a lot of different things, all kinds of postures and lots of different advanced yoga poses as well. But it really makes a difference even in the way that you stand. If you have a stronger or just an attention to your core, you have much better posture and more confidence overall. All of these things are connected. It's not just like, oh, I want to be able to like have my belly showing in a bikini. It's not about that. It's about being so strong, so powerful all through your life. Let's do it again. So you come back, hands and knees. Spread your fingers really, really wide. Spreading wide through the fingers, looking ahead of you. Press into your fingertips. Really let them get involved as well. And then with the gaze forward, squeezing the arms in toward each other, right leg back, left leg back, high plank, and push the ground away. And so it's not this like low plank where you got your butt dropping down here. You're pushing the ground away. You're lifted plank. Push. One more breath, just like this. Drop down to your knees. Hips back. Breathe. Breathe. Now, let's turn that high plank pose into a dolphin plank pose. Most of the time in yoga, when we talk about the dolphin, we're talking about something that goes down onto the forearms. So this shape, I'm not gonna lie, it is more difficult than the shape that we were just doing. But there are a couple of different ways that you can make it a lot easier for yourself. One of my favorite ways involves taking a block. So you put your block down here on the ground. So you put your palms down flat on the mat, and you can bring your thumb and your forefinger to rest on the sides of the block. So that's gonna look like this. Let me give you a little bit better show. Thumbs, forefingers, framing your block. If you don't have a block, but you still want a little bit of extra support, you bring your forearms down to the ground, interlace your fingers. And you're trying to make sure that you've got your forearms at shoulder distance apart and that you're lining up your shoulders and your elbows. So something that you'll hear me say a lot through all of these classes, I talk a lot about stacking your joints. Everything in yoga is just about building. You're just stacking things on top of each other. The idea is that you want to give yourself all of the tools to be able to stand up strong and not feel like you're causing any damage for yourself, and you do that by stacking the joints. So pay very careful attention to that as you move forward. Anyway, we're going to go on with the block. Bringing the forearms down to the ground, framing it up with the fingers and the thumbs. Spread really wide through the rest of your fingers though, and plug into your fingertips. Now here, got the forearms down on the ground, shoulder distance apart, lining up the shoulders and the elbows. Gaze is in between the forearms, or you can look forward. And this might be your preparation for today. You might stay down here on your knees. This might be more than enough. And if that's you, relish in it, enjoy it. If you want to turn this into a little bit more I'm gonna wiggle forward just a tiny bit. Spread far through your fingers. Line up, shoulders, elbows, then step your right leg back, step your left leg back. And you're trying to get your butt so that it's in line with your shoulders. I have a really big butt, and that is hard for me to do. So if that's you, solidarity, I'm right there with you. But push the ground away with your forearms. Find that little bit of a round in your upper back, just like we were doing in our regular high plank. Breathe here. Breathe. Let the breath be your focus. That inhale deep through the nose, exhale deep through the nose. Push the ground away. One more big breath. Drop down to your knees. Drop back onto your shins. Take a moment, breathe. Absorb. Take all that in. Soak it up. Then when you're ready, drop down to your forearms. Now this time, I'm not gonna use a block. I'm gonna do the little interlace of the fingers. If you want, you can feel free to just let your forearms be on the ground. Flex really, really wide through your fingers. If you want though, interlace the fingers. It'll give you just like a touch more stability. Trying to line up those shoulders over the elbows. Making sure you've got your arms at shoulder distance apart. Find that little bit of a round in the upper back. Shake out your head and your neck if you're doing, again, it's really easy for us to get tension in the neck when practicing yoga. Try to lose that, shake it out. Find your inhale deep through the nose. Exhale deep through the nose. If you want, stay here just like this. But if you can, step the right leg back, step the left leg back, forearm plank. Look forward. Breathe. Try to line up the hips and the shoulders. Flex through the soles of your feet. Flex through your toes. Breathe so much that you can start to breathe your heart forward. Find your breath. Take one more big one. Drop down to your knees. Draw the hips back. Just sit on your shins. Take a moment. Take it in. Give up to it. The feeling of accomplishment, a feeling as though you've stepped away from a boundary that you've made for yourself, that's the point of this practice. There is no other purpose. Now, this next pose is going to be a deeper extension of our dolphin plank, our forearm plank. And next, we're going to go into a dolphin, the full dolphin pose. In my opinion, this is one of the most difficult postures of yoga. It's also one of the most common, and it's one of the best lessons that you can learn. So if right now when we do this, you immediately drop down to your knees and you're like, I can't do this anymore. Girl, bye, I've been there. That's just the reality of the situation. But don't let that daunt you, because over time, you let the weeks pass, you let the months pass, you let the years pass, and it turns into a completely different experience. But when you're first starting out with this pose, a block and a strap can make all the difference. So with the strap, you take one end, loop it through whatever kind of loop-de-loop situation you've got, and you want to make a loop that is big enough for the space of your forearms. So you might just have to kind of play around with it and see what works the best for you. I think this is probably going to be good for me. But you slip it onto your arms just above the elbow joint. So it comes in not too high, not up here like by your armpits, or even really like even a little bit lower than that. You want for it to be just above the elbow joint, because it's stabilizing you, just giving you a little bit of pressure to move into. Drop down onto the forearms. And this might be plenty of stability for you. This might be more than enough. If you want, though, you can take your block. Oh, yeah. Bring your forearms down to the ground. Line it up just like we did before in our forearm plank, with the thumb and the index mounds touching the sides of the block, spreading wide through your fingers. And here it's nice and stable, nice and stiff. This might even be what you want to do for your forearm planks as well, is come into this little shape. Rooting down, And before we go anywhere further, look for that little round in your upper back. This is you stabilizing and protecting your shoulders. Lining up the shoulder and the elbow joints. Look in between your forearms, like just find a spot to gaze at on your mat. Breathe here. Just breathe a couple breaths here in our dolphin pose prep. Grip into your fingertips. Feel the weight start to transition forward into your arms. Curl your toes under, lift your hips up. Here we are, dolphin pose. But if you can, stay here. Push the ground away with your forearms. And then, if you can, start to walk yourself in. Walk your feet in closer to your hands. Breathe. Breathe. Keep your hips nice and high if you can. Then drop down to your knees. Lose your strap. Sit back on your shins. Breathe. Breathe. And if you want to take it out of your shoulders a little bit, interlace your fingers behind your back. Squeeze your arms straight. Oh, that's nice. Let your heart pump up to the sky. Let your fingers come down toward your toes. Throat falls open. Head falls back. Breathe. Come back to neutral. Hands on the thighs. Take a moment. Y'all know I'm not just going to let you do it once. Let's do it again. So you take your strap. And actually, I'm not going to use a strap this time just so that you can see it without. But don't be ashamed of your props. Use whatever it is you need. Grab your strap. Grab your block if you need to. I'm going to go without. Forearms come down to the ground. Flex through your fingers. Try to line up your shoulders and your elbows. Make sure you've got your arms at shoulder distance apart. Curl your toes under. Lift your hips up, 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 up. Dolphin. Start to walk yourself in. Plug into your fingertips. Walk yourself in. Then, if you can, if you're feeling it, bring your right leg up into the air. In the air. Flex your toes up to the sky. Right leg down. Let's do that on the left. On the left. Here we go. Left leg up. It doesn't matter if you fall down. Just get back up. Try it again. Breathe here. One more breath. Left leg down. Drop down to your knees. Draw the hips back onto your shins. Breathe and absorb. And then take your little shoulder relaxer. Interlace the fingers. Heart pumps up. Shoulders relax down. Head and the throat fall open. Core work doesn't necessarily mean immediate results. The results that you're looking for can only come with time. If you set yourself up, if you say 2 to 3 times a week, I'm going to do this sequence, each pose 2 times, I'm going to see how far I can go, that's plenty. Figure out a way to make this practice fun for yourself so that you can say, not, oh, I got to do core work today. You can say, yes, I get to do core work today. I get to make myself stronger. I get to feel and see just how strong I really am. That's what this is about. Allow your happiness to come from understanding that beautiful feeling. And then whenever you feel this kind of core engagement, you'll feel engaged in other parts of your life as well. It's not just about being here on your mat. It's about connecting it to the rest of your life as well.